Praise the Lord and welcome back to my YouTube channel. If this is your first time, please like, share, comment, and subscribe. In today's video, I will be discussing 5 key Bible verses for a good marriage. Now let's jump into this video. Welcome back to my YouTube channel, and for the first timers, welcome to my next video here to present is 5 key Bible verses for a good marriage. God has laid out everything that we need to know about life, and in terms of a marriage, the steps that we need to follow as a man and a woman to make sure that we're following along the right path to this journey here on earth, knowing that the relationship you have with God is a spiritual one. We are only here in human form because of his blessings, and that with this presentation, these are just some things on a good marriage, even if you're, not in the faith, that these are some things you should take from this video and apply it to your marriage. So let's get right into it. First verse comes from Genesis 2, chapter 24, and it reads, "Therefore shall a man leave his father and his mother, and shall cleave unto his wife, and they shall be one flesh." In this definition, I like to look up the word cleave because for those first timers, I am a dictionary searcher, so I like to get a better understanding of these verses with understanding of the words that God has written. Excuse me. And so the word cleave is a verb, and it means to split or sever something. And the Bible verse in translation just states, "Then a man shall leave his parents and split unto his wife, and they shall be one flesh." The Bible, like previously stated, is a book that was written with the ways a man should live life. Once a man parts ways with his intermediate family, it has been written that this man finds himself a wife, where the two individuals become one couple. They move in sync with each other going forward in life. And something I found very interesting about this video is that God didn't say woman, God didn't say friend, God didn't say friends with benefits, whatever you want to call it. But when he referred to the woman or the female aspect in this verse, he said wife. And so I found that very interesting, because it basically just provides that when a man is to leave his parents, the woman that he is to split onto is to be his wife. It should be no in-betweens. It shouldn't be numerous, a woman shouldn't have to kiss 10 frogs, and a man shouldn't have to kiss 10 sleeping beauties, to find that right person. So when you go into this journey of life, having it in the spiritual realm and understanding what God has already laid forth for you, it makes the journey in life so much better. One thing that I was told by somebody in my church as an elder is, the acronym for Bible is Book of Instructions Before Leaving Earth. And God has laid this out for us, what we should do in life. So this is why it's a main thing in my life, to just read it, understand it, and take what knowledge I can get from it to make my life better. My second verse going forth is Hebrews 13, chapter 4, and it reads, "Marriage is honorable in all, and the bed undefiled, but whoremongers and adulterers God will judge." The definitions I needed to find in this verse to get a better understanding is defiled. Defiled means, it's an adjective, and it means not defiled or pure. Definition of whoremongers is a noun, and it's a person who consorts whores. And adulterers is a noun, and it's a person who voluntarily has sexual intercourse with someone who is not his or her spouse and is married. In simple terms of this Bible verse, is marriage isn't honorable in all, and the bed pure. But those who consort whores and commit adultery will be judged by God. God finds favor in marriage. God finds favor in those who move forth in marriage, those who commit in a relationship to someone else in marriage. And so when you have a marriage before you, the bed is pure. You know that the person that you're having sex with is the only person you're having sex with. And that's with a mutual understanding on both sides. So as reading in a marriage, the bed is pure, because what happens in the bed is done under God. Those who have sexual intercourse with someone who is not of their spouse and is not married is considered a whore. And someone who has sexual intercourse with someone else other than their spouse are not in a pure bed and therefore judged. And so God doesn't want us out here having to have sexual intercourse with God knows how many people, and keeping it an intimate relationship between someone. I will give my testimony someday, but going more in detail about that, it just makes life much easier. I know we tend to want to judge, or we tend to want to venture into different avenues and aspects of, like, sexual things, but that is what is to be built between you and the person you choose to be your significant other in this, in this life that we walk here on earth. Next verse comes from Mark 10, verse 9, and it reads, "What therefore God hath joined together, let not man put asunder." And the definition of asunder, it's an adverb that means apart or divide. Bible verse in translation means, what God has joined together, let no man put division or place apart. In marriage, temptation may arise in each self, and jealousy or envy may fall from those looking in. Do not give up on the happiness and joy God has placed in your union and the covenant that was made. Being able to work together with each other instead of working against each other only helps to make what God has joined together even stronger with every passing day. People will try to break you apart. People will try to destroy your happiness and your joy. It may not even be exes or people you don't even know. Sometimes it may be the closest people to you that don't want to see you happy. And you have to know that under the right spirit and under the right goodness of stepping into that marriage with the same understanding from each other, God has allowed the devil to work here on earth. And so those who are touched by that spirit, they will try to break apart something good. And so know the person that you're marrying. I can't emphasize that enough, to know the person you're marrying. It may take a year before that it comes to a full understanding of marriage. It may take 5 years before it comes to a mutual understanding of the marriage. But taking that time to get to know someone, you're not making the wrong step in the right direction. And so when you stand in front of God and you stand in front of, the person that announces your wedding. Sorry for my block, but the person that is there to affiliate your wedding, they are putting all truth and honor and respect in what God has placed in for them to join this union together, and for it not to be under the wrong feelings or the wrong intentions going into a marriage. And so just know that what God has done and what God has put together, know that there is no separating apart from that. You have to work through it. You have to just keep a steady heart, keep faith, keep your spirit high, and just keep yourselves together. It's going to take work, but if you're willing to work for something, it makes it that much worth keeping. You work hard to get a degree, you work hard to get a job, you work hard to get a house, you work hard to get a nice car. When you work hard to get a marriage, and a good one at that, it takes as much dedication as putting it in anything else in life. The fourth verse comes from Colossians chapter 3, verse 14, and it reads, "And above all these things put charity, which is the bond of perfectness." Now, going into this verse, there's no direct translation or definition for put on charity. You can think of charity, but it's the fact of giving something, but in my research, looking this up, it gives the meaning as to give the highest form of love, just as the love that existed between God and man. That exists between God and man. Let me say that. Because God always loves us. God has never, plans to never leave us nor forsake us. And so the amount of love that is given by God, if you don't realize it, is at its highest form. He just wants us to listen. He just wants us to obey. He just wants us to know how much he has loved us. There are things that were done beforehand that we have to suffer, but he knows that when you come to him and you ask him for forgiveness, you ask for repentance and all those things, he has forgiven all of that. He has forgiven any mistake you have made in life. Don't ever think that you're not worthy enough to receive the love of God. And so this Bible verse in translation just states, "And above all these things, display the love between God and man, which is the bond of perfectness." So in a simple translation, it just means that the love that should exist between you should be as the love that you have for God. If you have faith in things, if things are down, and if you pray to something, who are you praying to? Just know that God answers prayers. So if you pray for this marriage and you have this marriage, if you're not putting in the love that is supposed to be placed in this communion, in this union, in this covenant that was made for you two, then what's the sense of having it? Love conquers all. If a marriage is built on other aspects and attributes without love, it will crumble and fail. But when you have a foundation of love in it, things flourish. When you love your kids right, they feel the love. When you put love in gardening, or you put love into reading, or you put love into working out, you put love into your food, you can feel what the genuine behind it. It comes from a genuine place. And when you have love, you know what real love is. And it never just deters away from that. So going to wrap this verse up, it just means keep your love pure. God has the purest form of love, and keeping that love in that marriage just strengthens that marriage more. And the last verse for this video is submitting yourselves one to another in the fear of God, and this comes from Ephesians chapter 5 verse 21. There's no definitions, very simple terminology in this Bible verse, and in simple translation, submit to each other in the fear of God. Okay, To be in the fear of God is to know that God is God alone. The fear of God is to know that God is mighty, powerful, and creator and ruler of all. The only person you should ever fear in this world is God. If you have fear of anything else in this world, you're not trusting in God. If you have a fear of losing your house, losing the car, losing a loved one, losing anything, you're depending on yourself and you're depending on man. But when you put your faith in God and you give it to God, there should be nothing to fear. So when you, as a person in a marriage, when you submit to each other in the fear of God, you always keep God first. You keep the thought of God first. You keep the spirit of God first. You keep the power of God first. In the presence of God first in everything, and everything else will fall into place. This is to say that the fear you have of God, taking all good away by not abiding by his will in his ways, is the love you should share with each other to show God that what he has set forth is working according to his word. This whole marriage aspect of life is a blessing from God. I will go into more detail about, what my marriage went through, how these have made my marriage better, how it has made, me a better person, knowing, what God has placed. And when you keep these things in line, it gives you a better understanding of how a marriage should work, how a couple, two people come together to work as one and things become better. Always be on the same page. Make sure things, you work them out. Like I said, you guys may butt heads, but there is a common ground that stands between you and your spouse in making a decision, an executive decision. Anything that comes from the smallest to the biggest of decisions, always come to a common ground in that decision. An overall view of this is marriage is made for anyone and everyone. If you want it, you can have it. But always go into these marriages with good intentions. Good intentions and a good heart and good love and a good spirit. Overall, just goodness, the goodness of God. Know that marriage is not easy, but with someone with the same views and perspective of what it means to be married makes it. Just from a personal standpoint, my husband works my nerves, but I love him. I wouldn't love him for nobody else. I wouldn't trade him for nobody else. And I'm confident when I say that he would not trade me for anybody else, regardless of my flaws and the things that are not perfect in me. God has placed this marriage in a perfectness. And so, working together instead of working against just stands for what marriage, what my marriage has gone through and what marriage should hold together in its fullness. When you work against something, you're not working towards the same goal. You know what I mean? If somebody's working towards something and working against them, you're bringing them back. But if you want somebody that's going to uplift you, and so if you're working together and you're uplifting that person, the rewards they reap, you reap those rewards too. You're married. That doesn't just go to them, but for them to do better in whatever they're trying to do makes you successful. So when they're successful, you're successful. And when you're successful, they're successful. So successful lies in in the marriage in itself. And overall, just marriage is a beautiful thing because all things made by God are beautiful. And so one thing, keep in mind, just pray together. Keep the faith, keep the spirit, keep the love. If you guys don't pray together, pray for each other. But always make it a moment to just pray together. God loves when you pray to him, when you bring your problems and your burdens to him, he will find a way to make it. It may not be right away. But God is always on time. And so thank you for taking the time to watch this video. Like, subscribe, and share this video if you have not. I can't wait to share my next video with you. And, you know, just hopefully you enjoy this video, the next video. And if you haven't caught the previous video, take a moment and look at that video. And with that said, God bless, and stay humble and stay blessed. Love you.